Hey everyone. I just want to talk about my Kratom experience. Um, I've been struggling with Kratom on and off for about 3.5 years, and I really want to make a video, and I'm sorry I can't show my face, but I just want to make a video talking about my experience because, I've found a lot of help with the videos I've seen uh, from people talking about their experience with Kratom that's not such a positive experience, because there is, of course, a lot of positive things about Kratom. And I don't, like most people, I don't think it should be illegal, but I just want to start by saying that because Kratom absolutely has its place. But I am not a very addictive personality. But something about this herb got a hold of me. It got a hold of me. I absolutely love the high from Kratom. I've done lots of drugs, never got addicted to any of them. Just recreational, just trying them in my early 20s, teenage years. Nothing ever stuck, and it wasn't really my thing. But this Kratom, you know, it got its claws on me, and I I'm just battling right now because I want to be done with it 100% for good, because I've tried all ways to manage it, and I just cannot stay off of Kratom. So anyway, or I should say I can't, use it reasonably and responsibly. I just can't. So what I want to talk about is I was introduced to Kratom when I had moved to Florida. It's pretty popular up there in the Panhandle. They sell it everywhere. Um, and I had a boyfriend who I had met a couple years prior, and he was a recovering alcoholic. He had been an alcoholic, but he had been recovered for about 6 years, and he was doing great. And we had an amazing relationship. I mean, he was definitely the love of my life. And it ties into my Kratom story, and that's why I also want to get that out there about the effects Kratom has on relationships too. Anyway, he had some back pain, and he was working a laborious job. And somebody at work had offered him some Kratom, and he took to it right away. Right away, he started buying it, and of course, I was just like, well, whatever helps you. I didn't have any interest in it. I wasn't interested in anything. I was pretty much a abstinent person. I didn't care about substances at all. I was into exercise and the beach and working, and I was really a very straight-laced person at that time. Anyway, so the first year he was taking it, and it did start to affect our relationship because he would, about 6 months into the Kratom addiction, he started to wake up in the mornings about 2, 3 a.m., tossing and turning, and it would disturb my sleep. And I'll tell you, I am a person that needs sleep. I am big on sleep, and it really pissed me off because he would wake up tossing and turning, and eventually he'd go to the living room, turn the light on, and read. And I just thought, you're disturbing my sleep. I can't stand this. And so I finally brought it up to him. And I could not believe his reaction. He was so short-fused with me, so dismissive, and it reminded me of sort of a golem with his precious. Like, how dare you talk about this? How dare you challenge this? And I knew right then and there it was a problem. I said, oh my gosh, this thing is a lot stronger than I realized. So I started to research Kratom, and at that time, I didn't see too much bad stuff about it on the internet. This was, I don't know, years ago. So there wasn't that much stuff about Kratom, the downsides. So I didn't have a proper, uh, I guess, picture of what it really was. So I let it go. And then I hit kind of a rough patch, as we all do in life, and I was starting to get pretty upset about something. I can't even remember what it was. And my boyfriend at the time, he said, why don't you try Kratom? It's great for this anxiety you're having, this problem you're having. You'll feel so much better if you just use it to, relieve these symptoms. So I tried it and I absolutely hated it the first time I took it. I remember I took some and I went shopping at a thrift store, a local beach thrift store, and my heart started to race and I thought I was going to pass out. And I said, this stuff is nuts. And I didn't touch it again until several months later, maybe 4 or 5 months later. The same thing happened. I was going through another one of my things, and I said, I was just having a hard time. And he convinced me, hey, and I'm not blaming him by any means. This was my choice. But he said, you should just try it. Let's just do it this way. So I tried it again. And that time I liked it. And I said, wow, this stuff really has a good calming, effect. And so I started to take it at that point, just when I was feeling like, really just my emotions were out of control, or I was going through a really rough patch. I would take it just in those times. And, as of course it started to become more frequent, because I started to really like the feeling. And then there was a time where I think pretty early on, I got the euphoric feeling, that we all know about if we become addicted to Kratom. There's a euphoria that is just wonderful. And you're warm and you're euphoric and you feel so great. And it hit me. And I was like, oh, I'm hooked. So I started taking it every other day in the morning with breakfast. Then it became every day. Then it became twice a day. Then it became 5 times a day. So we all know how this goes. So basically what had happened was it just began to consume me, but I would not recognize it. I would not acknowledge it. I did not care, because it had to become my precious. So here we were, functioning pretty well, using Kratom regularly, both of us. And then, so about a year and a half into it, things started to really turn. The irritability started to set in, the apathy. Both of us were very apathetic by that point. The sexual interactions were diminishing because neither of us could achieve, pleasure, and that went away. So that was a major issue. As you know, in relationships, you need that physical connection. At least most of us do. And that had previously been one of the best parts of our relationship, and also just, we were both empathetic people, and that had gone away. The sexual part had gone away, and it just got to the point where we were both irritable for our next dose around the clock, and it eventually just, I had recognized it as a problem, and I said, I'm going to be quitting this stuff. And he did not want to. He did not want to acknowledge it, not even a chance. I mean, he did not care at all. And so I ended up leaving him. And we separated, which was devastating for me because I had so many fond memories of our relationship before Kratom, you know. We had the most amazing relationship, and it truly was. It was a relationship to envy. We did so many things together. We had dreams, we had goals, we had everything was in line, and we had a beautiful life. And it just went south, you know, unfortunately. And so I had to grieve that relationship, and that was very, very hard. And so when I moved out, uh, I began, believe it or not, I began to use Kratom more because I was so heartbroken. And I just wanted to be alone with my Kratom, you know, and grieve and just reassess my life. But the Kratom, I could not stop. I could not stop it. And I even considered going to rehab for Kratom, which, you know, it's kind of, you know, it's not normal to go to rehab for Kratom, but I really considered it because I could not stop. I just could not stop. So finally, last year, at the beginning of the year, 2022, I quit cold turkey. Now, this is coming off about maybe 40 grams a day. And I'll tell you what, that was the most insane withdrawal, pain, mental anguish, hot and cold, blood pressure, everything you could imagine. I know it's not as bad as a heroin withdrawal. I can't even imagine a heroin withdrawal, but this was brutal. I couldn't sleep. I mean, it took about a month. Digestive issues, like crazy digestive issues. So I had quit. I then got a roommate, and I, you know, got a good job, and I was doing good, you know, for a while. And then life started to happen. You know, my job was pretty stressful because I had these two managers that were fighting like hell, and it was just a war zone. And even though I loved the job, the management was so just devastating that I couldn't handle it. And then I realized also, my roommate, who was a very responsible person, I found out that he was a pathological liar. And by the way, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, but I never encountered a real pathological liar. And boy, was that a interesting experience to realize that this person was literally lying to me about everything. Every interaction we had was just, so I began avoiding him, and you know, just kept it very neutral, you know, just sort of, I don't know if you've heard of the gray rock method, but that's sort of what I did with him. I just kind of gray rocked him. But the environment had become so toxic because this person, if he couldn't get away with pathologically lying, if you wouldn't put up with it, he began to become passive aggressive, like hiding things that were mine, messing with things. And I started to realize that the person I lived with was really quite sadistic. So I, about September of last year, so I had been 9 months off of Kratom, completely off of Kratom. I relapsed. I quit my job, and I made plans to move out, and I wanted to just run away from all these things. I was again, just, life was just awful again. And so I just thought, can't I catch a break? You know, can't I catch a break? And I deserve some sort of relief from all this madness out here in the world, you know, just complete madness. And so, you know, I just, anywhere I went, it just felt like, you know, why not I just thought, why not escape this? I'm so tired of the games and the pettiness and the insanity of the world, and I just wanted to run away again. So I began using kratom at a very low dose, and before I knew it, I was back up to 10 grams a day, and it was starting to become 12, 13, and so then I got off, and then I got back on, and I was kind of battling this, like, okay, I'll never take more than 10, I'll never take more than 10, and I'll be able to stay on my kratom, and here I am, January 2023, and I'm saying this stuff has got to go. This stuff has got to go because the problem with it for me is that I obsess on it. I obsess on it, and it becomes like it just consumes me. It consumes my mental energy. It makes me just it has a way of making me focus on it, where I'm waking up having my dose, and all I can obsess on is what time I'm going to take that second dose of the day, because I was doing just 2 doses, 4 or 5 grams a piece. And, it just, I don't regret my kratom experience, because I will say it led me down some roads. It's kind of a psychoactive plant. It really opened my mind up to some philosophical things that I don't think would have happened otherwise. I don't think I would have ever been interested in those things. And it really started to play on my mind in a good way for a long time. So I don't regret my kratom experience. It's just that I don't want something to have a hold of me like that. Another thing is, I know it's really hard on my body, because as soon as I start taking it again, my libido is out the window. I just absolutely do not care about anything. And I'm in my 30s, by the way. I do not care about anything in relation to intimacy or closeness or even touch. I don't want any of it. And that's a real problem, because our libidos are sort of a driving force. And if you're a Freudian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Libido is a very important element to our human, our human drive, and so that's a big issue. And then also, I know a lot of people have hair problems with kratom, but for me it was skin. My hair was always fine, although it did make my ex go have a big bald spot, I will tell you that. It affected his hair, and he had beautiful hair, but he got a bald spot from kratom, and he did not care. He did not care. But for me, it was my skin. My skin would react in a rash all over my chest, my arms, my back. And, this is very embarrassing. Even up on my neck, it would get like a pimply rash. And even at a low dose, that would happen. And I hate that part. I hated that because I knew it was toxins. There's a lot of metals in kratom. I knew it was toxins coming out. And there's just a lot there. And also, there's a big question of, since it's not regulated, sometimes you wonder, what am I putting in my body? What did they put in this bag? Is there fentanyl in here? Could there be? Or is there anything could be in there? Anything could be in there because it's not regulated. And, I can't even imagine years ago, before I started taking kratom, I can't imagine myself ever taking something. It's just so unlike me to put something in my body that I have no clue what's in the bag. I'm just really, that's a big sign to me that this thing is a lot stronger than, people really want to admit, honestly. Now, by the way, I'm not even in pain. I don't have any chronic pain. I have mental anguish like most people. I'm sad about the current state of our world. I feel disconnected to society, and unfortunately the kratom makes that worse, because I don't want to go out. I don't even want to go to the store. we're living in a time where, it's just so much fear and people are so shut down. They're so shut down and cut off, and we're really struggling with that. And so I really believe that, when the virus hit, that's when, in 2020, that's when my ex and I really got into our addiction. I think we were both just so triggered. He had lost his job. Things were so uncertain, and we were just like, what is happening? And all our programs that we would attend and our friends and everything just shut down. And that was very hard on us and our relationship, and it definitely contributed to our addiction, because before that it was somewhat manageable. And then when that virus hit, it was out. We just dived nose deep into that green powder. And by the way, I used mostly greens. I later found out that the bags we were buying from the vendor, they were being individually packaged in a brown bag by the owner of the head shop. So this was not a vendor per se, like the vendors, the mainstream vendors of Kratom. This was being like large quantities shipped to him, and he was putting them in brown bags. And I later found out that through one of the workers there, that she had found out through a test that he was adding something that would addict you even more. She didn't say what it was, but apparently it was like highly illegal, and I do question if he was putting a little fentanyl in there. I don't know, but guys, my point is that it's just a lot of this stuff is a really big risk, and anyway, I'm day 2 off of Kratom again. My last dose was only 4 grams. I'm taking GABA, not gabapentin, but GABA. I'm taking ashwagandha. I'm drinking kava tea. I'm taking magnesium at night. These are all the things that help get over the withdrawal. And I haven't felt much of a withdrawal, except for I get really cold. My head hurts a little bit, but I really am ready to just put this stuff behind me once and for all, because every time I go down this road, it just happens again. It just gets out of control. I start feeling like it really takes a toll on my self-esteem, because I feel shady, I feel like I'm hiding. I feel like I'm not really living, And I have many, many more things to talk about Kratom. I have a really hard time showing my face. I'm extremely private. I've always been that way. I don't even have social media, so maybe if I get the gumption, I'll actually do a video with my face. But right now, this is the best I can do. And I hope this encourages somebody out there. Kratom is not a devil. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna put you in prison or anything. It's not gonna kill you. Well, it could if you get the wrong batch, but what I'm saying is, it's not, it's a subtle drug, It's all in between the lines with Kratom, you know. And that's what makes it so sneaky. And it's one of those things where you don't feel bad about taking it. For a long time, I didn't feel an ounce of regret, I loved it, and I was an advocate for it. And, the truth was I didn't even need it. These people that are walking around with immense pain, they need it, that's why I don't want it to be illegal. In the state next to me in Alabama, I was right next to Alabama, that state, it's illegal. And, I think Alabama is one of the states with the highest rate of pharmaceutical distribution. And, it's so important for people to have an alternative. I wish that Kratom was regulated. I really do, just because of that story I told you about you know, the owner putting additives in there to addict the people even more, and he was selling a lot of Kratom. A lot of Kratom. He became some kind of millionaire off this. But anyway, um, I do wish it was regulated, and I wish it was legal everywhere, you know. But at the same time, it's, you know, it really should just, people with pain is probably the people that should take it really the most. I felt like such a hypocrite taking it because I'm not in any pain. I'm blessed in that I don't have any body issues. I don't have any, you know, pain. I don't have any diseases. I don't have any of that. I just have mental anguish, you know. I'm a sensitive person, and with this time in American history, I'm so sad for our country. I'm just sad. I'm sad. I'm sad in so many ways. You know, I go out and in public, and I just can feel the animosity and uncertainty and fear, and it's just it's like I've never seen it before. I just remember a time years ago when we walked around and we didn't have that weight on us, and I really feel it now. And I need to be strong, and I need to stand up and say, I'm going to make a difference. And I cannot make a difference if I'm high on Kratom. And I know it. Because when I'm high on Kratom, I like to stay by myself and read philosophy. That's the truth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you're doing with your life, then it gets boring, and it's very selfish. I have things I want to do. I have a fire inside of me. I have passion. I have a purpose that I want to fulfill. And I don't want this Kratom standing in my way anymore. So here I go. 2023 is going to be the year that I truly get off this stuff for good. And it's going to be one of those things that I could never consider touching again under any circumstance. And I've got to just nail that into my heart, my brain, everything. I got to just make that a plaque, you know, because I'm just one of those people that can't take it. Okay, I can't take it anymore. And this video right here is just sort of a record for me and for anybody else that, you know, can hear this or wants to listen to this. This is just me holding myself accountable. I am making a stand that I'm going to get off this stuff for good. And it's going out the door because I'm ready for my life to take a different turn. I'm done. I've done the Kratom train. It was, you know, it had a lot of good things about it. Like I said, psychoactive. And there was a lot I learned. And I also had a lot of very lucid dreams on Kratom. So there's been a lot of amazing things on Kratom. There is something about that herb that opens up, I would say, even the third eye a little bit. But again, once it gets its claws in you, you're a slave, baby. You're a total slave. So that's all I gotta say. And feel free to leave a comment, please, if you feel like it. And I hope you enjoy your day. And if you're getting off of Kratom too, please join me. And thank you for listening this long. And I hope you have a wonderful 2023. Thank you.